Welcome to a Thursday edition of Golic and Golic. Sham's watch has ended. The deadline has passed, and all that's left to do is sort through the wreckage. Did anyone actually get better? Is Giannis ever going to leave Milwaukee? And which of these moves will have the biggest impact on the final run of the season? Speaking of the NBA season, the on-court product actually delivered Wednesday night. Some big wins that left us wondering if water may have found its level in the Eastern Conference and if the best in the West is still up for grabs. And just like that, guys, we're already at the day before, a Thursday of Super Bowl week for the uninitiated, and the stars just keep getting bigger. We got a ton of them stopping by here today to talk about a great 2025 season and who's got the best shot of getting their hands on this trophy come Sunday night as we welcome you in. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. There's the names we mentioned. Fun ones. Trey McBride, Fred Warner, DJ Moore, Aidan Hutchinson, and Hafthor Björnsson, who's getting ready to try and deadlift like 1,200 pounds or 500 kilo. I'm bad at kilo math. I just know what the plates look like, and when he lifts the bar, there's a lot of plates on there. So on a day full of big, strong men, he may be the most mass that we will see all Super Bowl week.
Yeah, he could basically lift all four of the other. He could deadlift all four of the other guests, I would think. And a kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So if that's how you want to do the math, whatever the kilograms are, just multiply by 2.2, and you're golden.
Whatever, nerd. Anyway, while Dad's over there doing math,
what? In my new hotel.
The rest of us have been taking in the NBA's trade deadline, which now has officially come and gone here. And the results may vary. I think ultimately the James Harden move is still going to be the one that most people hold on to. One of the latest moves, the Clippers continue to purge some talent, trading center Ivica Zubac to the Indiana Pacers, according to Sham Charania. He, along with Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, as well as 2 first-round picks, are heading back to Los Angeles here. Obviously, this comes in the wake of that James Harden move. So the Clippers starting to, I think, make that transition, begin shedding the talent here. Kawhi Leonard is kind of like that scene in Fresh Prince where Will Smith's just standing in the middle of the room wondering where everyone's gone as he looks around at a team that was getting hot for a little bit, but I think, Dad, it has become pretty clear. In Clippers land, they're hyper aware of what this season is and what this season isn't, and then trying to get a jump start on their future at the same time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the olds on that team, I mean, their window of opportunity was basically cracked, right? There was a little breeze coming in there, and that was it. And if they kept those players, that window was just going to shut at the end of the year. So they have to start thinking about the future, especially in the Western Conference, where it's obviously the more competitive conference. So yeah, this was just a matter of time. They did get hot for a bit, but I do think the organization sees the writing on the wall of having 33, 34, 35, 36-year-olds on the team.
So if you're tuning into the show and going, really, that's the sexiest thing you had to offer us in terms of the NBA trade deadline, yes, we're surprised too, given what we thought may or may not happen to this. Do you have something sexier that's come to mind?
I mean, Kristaps Porziņģis going to Golden State is kind of a bit of a head scratcher. It also, I think, shuts the door on Giannis Antetokounmpo, who we'll get to, of going to Golden State, at least in the trade deadline. Porziņģis is an interesting cat. I mean, was with Atlanta, only played 17 of 52 games, has a hurt Achilles, hasn't played since, I think, January 7th, has that nervous system stuff that has been bugging him for a while now. So I'm not sure what they're going to get out of him at all. That to me was an interesting move, but it certainly put to bed Giannis. Now, I don't think Giannis was getting traded anyway by the trade deadline. We may have to wait till the summer if he's going to get moved at all. But that move was an interesting move to me.
Yeah, it certainly was, and per our rundown, we'll get to that in about 10 minutes, so we'll put a pin in that for right now, discuss a little more of the Warriors, will they, won't they, in about 10 minutes, and stick with what I think your main point is there, and I think what the main takeaway for a lot of people was the trade deadline. This felt like, and you'll appreciate this, Dad, the movie A Christmas Story. Ralphie's all excited. He's getting up. Yeah. He's looking. He's using the codex to try and get through this, message sent to him. He's drinking his chocolate Ovaltine, and all of a sudden he gets done with it, and he holds the script up, and it says, "Drink more Ovaltine." Yeah. A crummy commercial. That's what the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade deadline saga felt like right now. Now, it's not to say that we're out of the woods completely when we get to this offseason. But it seems to be a bit of a manufactured notion that something was going to come to pass before the clock struck midnight and the deadline. So were we all idiots, Dad, forever believing that Giannis was really going to finish this season on a different team?
I told you when I was at Radio Row yesterday, I did a hit with a Milwaukee station, and we talked about Giannis for a bit of it, and they were adamant that he did not want to get traded. He wasn't going anywhere. All the reports were false. He likes it in Milwaukee. He's made his home in Milwaukee, and he didn't want to go anywhere. And he's like, nobody, and this host was like, nobody wanted to believe it. Everybody is always putting Giannis on another team, he says, but he's not going anywhere. And now we do know, at least for this time, he isn't going anywhere. So again, the Bucks are looking to make deals to try and build around Giannis to try and get back to the championship with Giannis. So who knows? I mean, it obviously isn't happening now, but will it happen in the summer?
Yeah, and I think that becomes the thing. Like Eric Nem wrote a great article about this over at The Athletic. Talk to Giannis about what he wants, and you're right. It was dripping with all the stuff that you'd expect, and if you're a Bucks fan, you would hold on to of, hey, I live 10 seconds from my mom who I built a house right next to me.
Yep,
I have all my kids born here. Their passports say Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You got all this stuff, but then it keeps going back to the same point that Giannis has made for years now. I want to be here as long as I can win a championship. And I'd commit to here as long as I believe they can win a championship. And right now, that's in flux. And so to me, I understand and I appreciate what everyone in Milwaukee continues to say, that Giannis doesn't want to go anywhere. There is an easy, definitive way to shut the door on all this that I do not believe Giannis has done at this point. He's come out here and made it clear he wants to play the good guy. I'm still not necessarily sold that we get out of this summer without more fireworks surrounding some of the teams involved in this. We know the ones that got brought up and mentioned a bunch in this. It was the Warriors. It was the Miami Heat. It was the Minnesota Timberwolves. We knew the teams that were going to be in the mix, the New York Knicks as well. And I don't think we're out of the woods on that yet because, to your point, Dad, while the Bucks might go to work on trying to make some smaller moves around the margins, I don't know how many big swings are left on the table. They've got picks going into the summer. Maybe they can make something work, but it seems you're still going to have to really sell him that the bottom line can be the Larry O'Brien in Milwaukee before he's going to fully erase that and sign the extension that he could this summer.
They're further away from it than close to it. I don't think there's any doubt about that, especially this year. They're sitting in the 12th spot. They're out of the playoffs completely. And you're right. What moves were made? Nothing that is going to make this team make a jump. What moves could they make in the summer? That would have to be it to try and improve this team. But they've tried it the last few years, and they failed at it. So I think if he really sits down and says, I want another Larry O'Brien trophy, I'm going to have to get it somewhere else.
Yeah, I still think we're not out of the woods there yet, but we are out of the woods in terms of it happening this season, potentially for a Warriors team that has some answers that we'll talk about trying to bring into town. I don't ultimately know if they'll be enough. Teams that have answers, though, let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals tight end Trey McBride, who may be authored in what felt like the dark because of how bad the Cardinals were. The best tight end season statistically in NFL history, a career record and a tight end record, 126 catches this season from one of the best in the league. All right, pumped to be joined by the Arizona Cardinals all-pro tight end Trey McBride here with us now on behalf of Rockin' Protein, which we can't wait to hear about. But Trey, congratulations on all the success this season for you personally. I know how it went for the team certainly wasn't the way any of you guys wanted to see it go, but for you, just how gratifying is it, being out at the Pro Bowl, being talked about in the way you are right now after a record-setting season?
Yeah, I think that part's pretty special, just to be a part of that, to have a great season and to be recognized after the year. The Pro Bowl was so much fun, just to be around some of the best players in the NFL every year and to spend time with those guys is pretty cool. So very honored in that aspect, but, excited to get back to it next year.
What was the feeling like when you broke the record and you broke the receiving record for tight ends? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I knew I needed, I don't know, whatever it was, 5 or 6 catches going into that game. And, every single catch I would kind of, in my mind, okay, I need 3 more. Okay, I need 2 more. And then, when that last one came, I was like, did I get it? I'm asking my, coaches, did I get it? Did I, and then, the main thing I wanted to do, I wanted to break it in 16 games so no one would give me a hard time saying, oh, well, he had 17 games, he, this and that. So I wanted to be, make sure I got it in 16 games, and then was able to stack onto it that last 17th game, which was pretty cool.
You know what? I like the foresight on that one. A lot of just erase all doubt in this, no question. Well, so now this is interesting for you because obviously, you guys make a change at head coach. Mike LaFleur comes in here, and the offense for you, couldn't have been gone better. Obviously, you see a lot of balls. It's what everyone wants to be involved in that way. Do you still somehow get even more excited seeing, Mike coming over from the Rams, all the 13 personnel and tight end focus in that team? Like, what's your early conversation been with him about how your role, in some ways stays the same and maybe in some ways changes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly, you hit it right on the head with, the 13 personnel. I think they're one of the top in the league about, using tight ends. So right there brought excitement to me and my group, how much potential there is in our tight end room and what we can bring to the table. And I think, obviously Mike's had a great, couple offensive years of offense in the NFC West. So I'm super excited for him to continue to build on that, continue to bring that over to the Cardinals. And I'm excited to see how, lethal we can be on offense this year.
Obviously, you're as stable as can be at that position, the best at that position in the league. The quarterback position for your team, certainly not as stable. And for position groups like quarterbacks and receivers that like to work together in the offseason to get timing down, how important is it for you to have the team know who the quarterback is going to be?
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, very important just to build that relationship, to get that timing down, to get all that stuff is very important. So that's obviously the most important position on the football team, and we got to make sure we have the right guy. And I obviously love Kyler. He's a wonderful player. Would love to have him back, but the new head coach will have his say in that.
No, certainly going to be an important offseason question for you guys on that front there. In terms of, looking ahead to the game that we got coming up, you mentioned, battling inside the NFC West, seeing your head coach on a couple of those different teams. You also saw the Seahawks team twice this season that's now getting ready to play in the Super Bowl, especially looking at that defense for you as a tight end having to deal with the guys down the spine of that group. Why have they been so effective this season?
Gosh, the just the talent that they have on that defense is unreal. You think about up front, they have Williams and the two edge rushers that they have. They have Ernest Jones at the middle. Then you get to the back end, and they have Woolen and Witherspoon, Love, Kobe Bryant, the rookie. I mean, gosh, the list just keeps going on and on and on. And just what they bring to the table is they're a tough physical defense. They talk a lot of smack, and they're going to be a great, they're going to be tough to beat, no doubt.
Well, I mean, you had 16 catches for, I think, 179 yards in your two games against Seattle. So certainly you obviously being the best tight end helped, but also do you think they may be susceptible? Do you think a guy like Hunter Henry could be in line for a big game?
Yeah, I think about, just the tight end position and what I was able to do. Yeah, I think Hunter can have a huge game, and I would love to see that happen. But honestly, just we'll see what they bring out there, and it'll be a great game either way.
How much, Matt, could they really talk to you, given what Dad just lined up about how good a game? Like, what were they really trying to say to you in the midst of that game as you're out there dogging them?
Yeah, I think they were just maybe trying to slow me down a little bit and talk a little smack, but they were ganging up on me the last couple of times we played. So it's it's a rivalry. We play each other twice a year, and we always have fun when we're playing, but it's competitive, no doubt.
So when I was with the Eagles, 2 times the Cowboys made the Super Bowl, and I rooted like hell against them. I'm like, I do not want a division team to win the Super Bowl. How do you feel about Seattle and who you're rooting for?
Yeah, I think, kind of in the same boat, it's like one of those guys, it's like you don't want your in-division rival to win, but at the same time, man, they might deserve it this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I'm excited to see the outcome.
All right, so I believe I saw before today when you're out in San Fran, obviously, made your inaugural appearance at the Pro-Am at the Waste Management Open. What was that scene like for you there, especially as the local now?
That was absolutely insane. It was bonkers last night. I was a little more nervous. I've played in front of a lot of big crowds before, but I've never swung a golf club in front of 30,000-40,000 people. So that's something I'm not as comfortable doing. So it was a lot of fun just to go out there and hopefully I didn't kill anybody, but man, we had so much fun and gosh, it was just a great experience, and hopefully I'll be able to do it again.
Well, we got to know how you did on the 16th hole, the par 3. We saw Travis Kelce stuck it pretty close. Yeah. How did you do on that hole?
I hit a good shot. It wasn't quite as close as Travis's, but was able to hit a good shot and hit the green and all that. But it was it's just funny, man. That's a crazy tournament, and that adrenaline on that hole is running through you for sure.
There you go. I got to imagine the hometown love on that hole, too. You weren't going to get booed like some of these guys do when they shank a shot. So I'm sure you had plenty of support there. As you do with the folks at Rock and Protein that you're here with now, talk about why this has been a good partnership for you as you continue to dominate this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been with these guys for a couple years now, and I just think they do everything the right way. The drink is honestly one of the best I've ever had. The taste of it, just when you drink it, it doesn't leave that chalky taste that most protein companies leave. And they just got a new flavor. The chocolate banana flavor is unreal. It really tastes awesome. I thought that chocolate was my favorite. Then they added this chocolate banana, and it's just out of this world. So love everything that they're doing. They're a great protein company, and I think you need to go check it out.
All right, there we go. Listen, as someone that came up in an era where you thought it had to taste bad to work, it's nice to see that we've moved beyond that now. So, Trey, congrats again on all the success, man. Enjoy the rest of this week out in San Francisco, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys for having me on. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, coming up next, as many people head into the Bay Area for Super Bowl 60, we'll tell you about a few who are on their way out in the other direction next on Golic Golic. Welcome back, GGs. The NBA didn't just have a trade deadline. They played real basketball games, and the San Antonio Spurs won theirs 116-106 over the Oklahoma City Thunder. It marks their 4th win over OKC this season, albeit a bit of a skeleton crew. We know SGA out until after the All-Star game with the oblique strain. You also were without Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, and Lou Dort. So congratulations to the Spurs. Meanwhile, congratulations to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, 42-9-8 as they outlast the Nuggets 134-127, and not one, but 2 overtimes. Jamal Murray had 39 points. Jokic had his first triple-double since coming back from a knee injury last week. But the Denver Nuggets now lost 3 straight. Have to wonder if they're actually better without Nikola Jokic. This, my disingenuous column. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., back with you guys here. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the trade deadline off the top and maybe the lack of truly high-end sexy moves. Zubac's on the way to Indiana. James Harden on the way to Cleveland. I did see a note that does highlight maybe the most important takeaway from that as it pertains to that little banged-up Oklahoma City Thunder engine that could end the Los Angeles Clippers. You know what the pick number, you know who owns the Clippers' first-round pick this year? Is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City, right.
The Los Angeles Clippers team that just traded away 2 of their best players in a year where maybe they're starting to eye the future and wondering what that could look like, and all of a sudden could be a little bad down the stretch here. That pick right now per tankathon looks like it could check in around 12th given their record, but they've got 23 wins on the season. They are 12 games behind Sacramento, who's got the worst record in the league right now. So I'm just saying, things could keep coming up OKC as we go down towards the end of the season if all of a sudden the slide starts for the Clippers.
Well, Sam Presti and Howie Roseman from the Eagles are 2 of the GMs that keep working their magic, right? While we do have certainly drama in Philadelphia that we'll talk about that they had all season, how good Oklahoma City is and the assets that they have, it just kind of makes you shake your head. And you just rattled off all the players that were out. They are now that they're not going to get and haven't been we're going to get the record for a while of least amount of losses. They are completely just setting up to make sure, and they should, that they are completely healthy by playoff time. I know we have a long time before that, but they're looking toward and forward to that.
Yeah, no question. They can afford to operate a little differently now. People always wondered, would that pursuit have had an effect on the season? We'll never know, but now they seem to be operating like a lot of others, and it's not to discount legitimate injuries. J-Dub was coming back from that offseason surgery after their championship win. And certainly now all eyes going to be on SGA with that team. As we look elsewhere in the West, though, one of the big outstanding questions of the deadline was, what was Golden State's potential involvement going to be with Giannis Antetokounmpo? And that came to a screeching halt in a number of ways. Draymond Green had talked about the possibility of him maybe being dealt at the deadline that didn't come to fruition. The Golden State Warriors did make a move, though. They traded Jonathan Kuminga, who had been in the doghouse with Steve Kerr for a while, along with Buddy Hield, to the Atlanta Hawks for veteran center Kristaps Porziņģis on Wednesday night. Is this anything, Dad? In 2026, we know Kristaps Porziņģis has at times been the unicorn going back to his Knicks days, then had his reawakening and resurgence that led him back to Boston, where he was part of a championship run there. Is this move anything more than the Warriors moving the food around on their plate to try and convince their parents that they ate dinner?
I'm somewhat amazed at this move. Now, again, will they be in the hunt for Giannis come the summertime, right? Because I know you and I aren't really believing he's not going to be up kind of for sale in the summertime. Depending on what that team does. And I don't know what moves that they're going to make that they haven't tried in the last few years. So I'm not sure. I mean, is Porziņģis the answer to Jimmy Butler getting hurt? I mean, did they fill that slot? And Porziņģis, how much will he play? Seems to be very, very, very odd. The move that Kuminga we knew was going to be gone for a while. We thought, is he going to stay and is he going to fill the spot of Butler? But no, that just seemed to be too many bridges burned there, and he was going to be gone.
Yeah, boy, did we need Jonathan Kuminga out of Golden State, if for nothing else, so we stopped hearing about Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State and what an apparently miserable experience that was for everybody involved. So Steve Kerr gets a little bit easier time in the huddle going through after this. You mentioned the Giannis availability this summer as we were in the break coming back into this segment. Giannis Antetokounmpo took to Twitter and said, "Legends don't chase, they attract." 100 emoji, sunglasses emoji, and posted the clip from Wolf of Wall Street, very famously, of Leo DiCaprio, the "I'm not bleeping leaving" clip. So he gets to take the victory lap right now over all the haters, even though he played a pretty strong part in all of the supposing that went on, given both the statements made by his agent and the statements he made publicly.
I mean, it is amazing how definitive he acts like he's saying, "I'm not going," when you're right. Statements by him, and I don't care what he says, statements by your agent are a reflection of you. And I think if they had not won a title, he would be gone already, right? That they just were not going to be able to build a team to win another title. And I think he still may be gone in the summer. But, interesting tweet by him.
Yeah, to say the least, but that's probably the most interesting thing we have right now coming off the deadline, so we'll hold on to it for dear life. We'll also try and hold on to you guys and then hand you off eventually to Stan Verrett. Countdown Live, presented by Prime. They come up right after us here on FanDuel Sports Network. Plenty of great information, great insight. He'll have everything you need coming off the trade deadline so you can feel like a better, smarter fan going into tonight. Coming up next, though, we don't want to get better or smarter. We want to get strong as all hell. Hafthor Björnsson going to stop by and tell us how to do that next on Golic. Welcome back to Golic Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. Day 2 for Dad, or day 3 actually, in San Francisco already. It's blending together for me. I can only imagine how it's been for you. And you know this better than anyone, Dad. Radio Row, the Super Bowl Media Week, it's always kind of a crapshoot. We got a great lineup of guests here, and you just hope that people are there where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be, but you understand that's kind of what comes with the territory. You're always taking a risk. I know you and I both have a lot of our eggs in the basket of our next guest, Hafthor Björnsson, hoping he shows up on time. A world record-holding deadlifter, a strong man, played the mountain on Game of Thrones, and just a giant meaty man. And I think you and I both, as people that lived a lot of our lives as big meaty men, have a strong affinity for giant people who like to lift heavy things. And so I'm fascinated to talk to him, and we certainly hope we'll get that chance here.
I am a freak at watching the World's Strongest Man competition that he has been in. I love watching these guys lift and kind of lift odd things like stones and different kind of lifts, not just the normal lifts that you and I did as football players. Yes, but for us having to lift basically almost all our lives, all our sporting lives, as part of our training. To watch people do it at the level that Thor does it is just, I have more Instagram videos watching when I sit around and watch of weightlifting, of strongmen weightlifting, than I think anything else. It's just so awe-inspiring. It's unbelievable.
It scratches my brain in the very few things can. Like that meathead part of me that loves the thrill of watching someone take a heavy thing off the ground or lift it above their head or do any manner of that. So hopefully we'll talk to him very soon as he, I'm sure, parts the seas around Radio Row, given the impressive size. But as we part the seas here looking towards Super Bowl Sunday, important updates here in this week for the two quarterbacks in this game, Sam Darnold and Drake Maye, who we've talked plenty about. Both interesting adjustments. Sam Darnold, a limited participant in practice on Wednesday. As we know, the oblique injury that popped up heading into this postseason run originally clouded what people thought might be this Seahawks championship run. Now says this feels good and feels like he's still going to be in a position to go. Again, hasn't affected him so far. Played in a phenomenal NFC championship game that seems to have silenced a lot of the doubters. And then on the other side, you've got Drake Maye, who, as the MVP finalist and one of the guys that could potentially also be made his way into this, was a full participant after the shoulder injury that popped up on the injury report. Talked to a lot of people. So good news on both counts. I think what everyone wants, Dad, just to know we're going to have both quarterbacks healthy and able to do this.
Well, Sal Palantonio had a report that said if Drake Maye, because he's covering the Patriots, if Drake Maye practiced in full participant on Wednesday, he would be good to go for the game. And that's exactly what he did. And I think we expect Sam Darnold. We've been talking about the oblique for a couple of weeks, and he's been playing. So I think both quarterbacks are going to be good to go, as is our next guest.
Yes, like I say, let's put all the football nonsense aside for a minute and talk to our next guest here. Hafthor Björnsson joins us right now. Actor, strongman, deadlift world record holder. You're going to see him coming up on May 24th in the Enhanced Games in Las Vegas. Hafthor, we appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Absolute pleasure, yeah.
Appreciate it. Now, we're excited to have you here. What's it like for you walking around Radio Row? Obviously, as a high-level athlete and competitor yourself, different arena here with a lot of the football players involved. What's your takeaway anytime you get around these other different groups of athletes in a setting like this?
Definitely fun. It's awesome to see all the people here. It's different. I've never been to this event before, but seeing all the athletes, seeing all the people has been a lot of fun today, for sure.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of us as former football players, and there's obviously a lot of former and current football players walking around Radio Row, we had to spend our lives lifting weights for our profession, but we all sit in awe of what you're doing when you are lifting weights, a world record holder in the deadlift. At what age did you really kind of know that you had a knack for deadlifting?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. To be honest, guys, when I first started competing in strongman, my static lifts like deadlift were one of my weaknesses. So like deadlifting was not my strength. I had to really work towards that. And over the years, I was able to gain strength, as you can see there, lifting 500 kilograms, 510 kilograms, like nothing, I had to gain strength slowly but surely to get to that level. I was not naturally gifted with static power. I was more good with explosiveness, carrying stones, throwing things above my head, those kind of things, carrying things, moving events, I was good at that. That was my strength back in the days.
Well, and how different is the training between the two? Like a lot of us grew up watching World's Strongest Man, where you competed, where a lot more of that is on display. So how much does that change the way you attack training when all of a sudden you start to focus in the different areas?
So there's a big factor, in my off season, I would always focus on the static moments. So I would focus on squat, bench, and deadlift, or overhead presses, I would focus on those events because those were my weaknesses. But on season, we have so many different events in strongman, over 30 different implements that we have to train with. So it's very difficult to get physically stronger when you're always moving weights and running around with these things. You get good with those things, but getting stronger like to statically stronger. It can sometimes be hard like on season when you're constantly competing, traveling. It takes a lot of toll on your body, but I was lucky enough to have a good team around me, great coaches that helped me in my journey to maximize my potentials and in the end become one of the strongest persons alive.
Yeah, you are. You're the only person to have won the World's Strongest Man, the European Strongest Man, and the Arnold Strongman Classic in the same calendar year. But let's talk about your early athletic career was basketball, wasn't it? How far did that go?
It didn't go very far. Thank you so much for compliments earlier, but it didn't go really far. And to be honest, because I stopped playing very soon. I played for the national team in Iceland for my age group, so under 16 years old boys and under 19-year-old boys. You know, I played for the national team in those eight categories, and I was, you know, decent. You know, my plan, the goal was always to become a professional basketball player, but sadly, I got injured. And I took a pause from basketball, and with that pause, I never came back. You know, I fell in love with lifting weights and never looked back, really.
Well, and you know, lifting weights, certainly what you've done as a strongman is a huge part of your success, but your fame and notoriety, I know, certainly got a massive boost as well when you played the Mountain on Game of Thrones. What was the recruitment process like for that? Was acting something that you had wanted to do, or how did they find you for that role?
Funny enough, no. Actually, like, I had no interest in becoming an actor, and that was nothing that I was looking into. They obviously knew of me from just my strength journey and had heard about me. They were looking for a new character to play the Mountain, and you can't really it's difficult to find guys my size, guys my height, and yeah. So literally just they reached out to me, asked if I could come and do an audition in Iceland, which was quite handy because I was living in Iceland at the moment. So yeah, just I showed up, met with the producers and directors, and I did my audition and got the job, you know.
So when you traveled for that, or you travel a bunch in your line of work, have you ever traveled to a place and you wanted to get a workout in and there wasn't enough weights at the gym you were at?
100%. You know, that was maybe more like in my early days, you know. Over the decades, you know, the 2 decades I've been very active in strength sports. More strongman gyms. Strongman has definitely gotten more popular, so more strongman gyms and more like powerlifting gyms are available nowadays. So it's easier now, especially in the States. But I remember like in my early days, it could be challenging to like find proper gyms when you were on the road. But you know, you would just do the best you could.
Great problems that very few of us ever have to run into or realize, but the tax bracket you're in that now has led you to this point. So what was the appeal for you in competing in the enhanced games? I know some people view it as controversial. Why was this something that you thought was right for you and can be a place where you can go and showcase your talents in a way that you enjoy?
Yeah. So, you know, I just wanted to be challenged. You know, I wanted to do something that could, you know, challenge me more. You know, obviously breaking my record, pulling 550 kilograms is a big challenge, but doing it in a way where it's also like I'm looked after. Like I had to go through a different health checks before I was approved to compete at the enhanced games. They checked my heart. They took some blood work, did some blood work for me, and during this journey, I will continue to be looked after. I'll continue to, you know, check my health. So I feel like I'm in good hands with enhanced games while I'm enhanced.
It's going to be incredible to watch. I know we're excited to see yet another big pull from you here coming up very soon. Again, the enhanced games coming up May 24th. We're going to check this out the first time ever. Hafthor, this has been awesome, a real treat for us. We appreciate it. Good luck coming up in May, and we're excited to watch you then.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. All the best. Take care.
Thank you. By the way, because I know you're not great in math, Mike, 550 kilograms is 1,210 friggin' pounds that he is trying to pull to break his own record. I mean, to go over 1,200 pounds deadlifting is just unbelievable. Oh, I'll be watching.
Well, it's mind-numbing, too, as he said that, this wasn't what I was naturally good at. The thing I would kill for now is based on his build. Let me see what the jump shot looks like now. Like, I know basketball was the first love. Clearly, that was like his version of you reliving your high school wrestling meet where you lost there and you were favored to win. It clearly picked an old memory. I wonder what the jumper looks like with all that beef on top now.
Well, and for those that were watching this and maybe don't know a lot about him, when he talked about his size, he's 6'9", listed at 450 pounds. I don't think he's that heavy anymore. I think he's more high threes, maybe 4, but he's 6'9". I mean, what an absolute imposing figure walking down a hallway.
Yeah, it really is. Like, the mountain, you go back and watch that, like, to see him tower over Pedro Pascal, who played the Viper in the famous fight scene that, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, doesn't end well for one of the people's sexiest men alive. I wonder if they've ever run across each other since then, and Pedro's kind of like, oh man, there's just a little bit of fear in your heart, because there's always got to be, even amongst that room full of professional athletes there, when you walk across a guy that big, it always is the sidewalk test that I think about, where if you're walking on the sidewalk and you got someone bigger than you coming your way, I always think it's on the smaller person to kind of move and acquiesce a bit. They take up more space naturally, and if both of you collide, you're going to be on the losing end of that. He gets to trump basically everyone he's ever going to walk past besides like Shaquille O'Neal.
And it's one thing to walk past someone, but with Pedro Pascal, you're talking about, they had a fight scene together. I mean, imagine if Thor got a little too rough in the fight scene, what he could actually physically do to a regular size actor.
I mean, I think we saw exactly what he could probably do to a physically regular size actor. Pop their head like a pumpkin and scar all the rest of us for life. Speaking of things that won't scar you for life, our guest list tomorrow, I don't know if Max Crosby could crush another man's skull, but I also don't know that he couldn't, and maybe we'll ask him that question tomorrow. I doubt it. Maybe we'll ask him more about what he thinks he might see coming up from his future potential head coach in Clint Kubiak in the Super Bowl. Plenty of exciting stuff coming up tomorrow. Coming up next, though, we'll visit with one of the best receivers in the NFL and talk about a breakout year for the Ben Johnson Bears next. Welcome back to Coach Golic, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. As we roll along towards Super Bowl Sunday here, the guest list keeps heating up, which brings us to DJ Moore, kind enough to join us today. Star wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, fresh off an incredible first season under the new regime in Ben Johnson, which we certainly want to get to. But DJ, great to see you, man. How you feeling here in Super Bowl week?
I'm doing amazing. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
I got no complaints. So, DJ, I got to talk to you with a different outlet before the season during training camp as you guys were just getting going under Ben Johnson, and kind of talked about the differences in camp there. I'm curious now, as you put a bow on this 2025 season, what was your overall takeaway from this first year with him now as your guys' new head coach?
It was intense. It was scary at sometimes with the games we lost going up and down, and then the games that we won and at the last second. That was pretty fun.
So you see this team, obviously the arrow going up, you made the playoffs. What are expectations going into the offseason for next year?
Just to start from ground zero and then work our way back up like we did this year with year one under Ben. And year two, I think it's going to be the exact same way. And we just got to go out there and execute and attack the challenges that he throws at us.
You said scary sometimes. What were the hairy moments like with Ben Johnson this year when you had some of the different valleys you described?
It was like he was so calm. So I think like with him, the whole ordeal is that you make practice and in camp and OTAs as hard as possible. So when we get in those moments, like in the fourth quarter, down with like a minute 40 left, and we go out there and execute everything we need to come back and win. So I think that's really the totality of just him being a head coach.
For those that are watching and don't maybe understand the nuances of an offense and what responsibilities are for receivers when a quarterback, in this case Caleb Williams, breaks the pocket and it becomes, kind of a free-for-all play. What kind of take us through the responsibilities of a wide receiver once you see the play break down and your quarterback break the pocket?
Yeah, once he breaks the pocket, you don't know which way he's going, so you got to wait to see which way he goes, and then you can react off of him. And he's always looking to throw the ball. He's gonna make somebody miss, either jump out of the tackle or just make them look silly. And it's fun to watch, but you also got to be on your details on the scramble rules.
What was that tension like maybe in his development in this second year with the organization? Because so many people heard from the outside, hey, he needs to play more within structure. But then we see some of the big plays that you guys make on this incredible run to the playoffs out of structure. So what was it like watching Ben Johnson maybe try and corral some parts of those games while not trying to make sure you take away what he does best?
I think him just playing on time was a big thing this year, and it was on display. I think that got overshadowed by him scrambling and making plays. So he has done a good job playing within the scheme. And then when he has to go be Superman, Iceman, whatever you want to call him, he just goes out there and does his thing.
Well, you certainly were this year as well, especially twice, not once, but twice against the Packers. Take us through those plays, those game-winning plays, twice against your division opponent.
Yeah, so the first one, the overtime one, the catch, we practiced that, I think, once, maybe the day before Saturday, and we hit on it at the end of practice, and it was a walk-off, and then so when we called it in the game, and it was really a walk-off touchdown, I was in shock. I think everybody was in shock that it came down to that. But once we seen the coverage, me and Caleb, I felt like we knew where we was going with the ball, and he threw it up and gave me a chance and came down with it. And the second time, we ran the screen earlier in the game, and only one person bit down, and we got, I think, 10 yards. Then we ran it again, and they all bit. And I just knew we was going to get a touchdown because we've been practicing that play for weeks.
It was incredible to watch. Like you said, you guys seem to have a calm about you in a lot of those critical moments, as did your rookie. What impressed you most about Colston Loveland coming in, at tight end, him really, and Luther Burden, who came on at the end of the season? Why were your two rookies as the pass catchers able to be so effective this year?
I just think they put in the work and show their ability to go out there and make plays on the stage, and they built a lot of trust, just knowing the playbook. So the coaches put them out there and gave them chances and gave them the ball and see what they can do.
And Mike mentioned rookies in Loveland, rookies in Burden, young player in Adunze, young player in Caleb Williams. You're going into your 9th year. Do you kind of feel like the wise old man of this group?
Not really. I still feel young. I am young, but the group is definitely young. They keep me young. Some of them call me Unc. Some of them just call me Big Bro. The Unc part gets me sometimes. I'm like, I'm only a few years older than y'all, but I get it though.
I was gonna say, you got what? Did it feel nice at least having like another guy in Unc status and like Joe Tooney coming on board, like having an older guy up there in the offense with that O-line group?
Yeah, I feel like they are more unks than me. Like if you over 30 in the league, you definitely the unk.
Yeah, I mean that's true because I mean you're 28. You've been going to be your 9th year. You are just 28. So the number of years in the league does defy how young you are. As far as this Super Bowl, are you someone that roots for a team in your conference like the Seattle, or do you have any rooting interest in this game?
I like Seattle to win since they're on the NFC side, and they've been having a heck of a year. So I would like to see them finish it.
It's certainly been an impressive season from them. And listen, on that team, a guy in Sam Darnold, who I know you guys overlapped in Carolina for a bit, had a really good season with him as your quarterback. And another guy, only 28 years old, despite being in the league this long. What's it been like to watch his sort of career renaissance these last couple of years, now with a chance to win a Super Bowl?
It's been great. Coming out in the same draft class, we kind of knew each other. When he got drafted to the Jets, everybody had a story to tell about him. Then he came to the Panthers, and they still had stories to tell. Then he went to Minnesota, and the rest is history. He's been balling out, and I'm proud of him.
It's been incredible to watch. I'm sure a lot of other people who have crossed paths with him feel the same way here. DJ, appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the rest of this week, and we're excited to see what the Bears can do in 2026.
Thank you.
So it was obviously a lot of good for the Bears, specifically offensively, too. I think the big challenge for them coming this offseason, and you've seen it on display around the rest of the league, right, is finding a way to have a defense that is more consistent and less turnover dependent going into next year, because that's going to come crashing back down to earth, and they're going to need the personnel and the ability to go do that. The good news is they did kind of flash that in the postseason this year. I think you saw, especially in that Rams game, a defense that looked a lot more up to the task than maybe we expected, given what the defense looked like for so much of the regular season.
Yeah, but you're right. You can't rely on leading the league in turnovers consecutive years. That is a rarity to happen. But you look at that division, the Packers should be fine. Get Micah Parsons back. Obviously, that's going to be a key. Minnesota still doesn't really have a quarterback. We don't know what direction they're going to go. And Detroit's definitely looking for a bounce back year, getting another new offensive coordinator. Let's see what the defense can bring, but they were certainly disappointed in their season. So it is definitely an up for grabs, or continue to be an up for grabs division. I think, save for Minnesota, who is really trying to find a quarterback.
Yeah, but no, I'm with you. And it's amazing, though, that we're saying that 2 years removed from this being the division that did what the NFC West did this year.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is as simple as quarterback play, where the NFC West, when you look again to next season, provided Matthew Stafford come back, which we assume after a likely MVP tonight he's probably going to, Brock Purdy back healthy, Sam Darnold on a multi-year deal in Seattle, like, it certainly seems like these teams have a high probability, combined with a lack of coaching turnover outside of maybe a team like the Arizona Cardinals who's replacing. It looks like there should be staying power there. We'll see if the NFC North can get back on track. Coming up next, though, if you want to get better on defense, simply add a player like Fred Warner to your roster. We will add him to ours coming up here in the next hour right here on Golic Golic. Oh, it's hour number 2 on a Thursday. Mike Golic Jr. and Mike Golic Sr. Still plenty of great guests coming our way. We'll talk to Aidan Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions, looking ahead to tonight. NFL honors coming up. Find out if he's going to take home some hardware, up for Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year. One of the many greats that we have coming up on this lineup. Before we get to that, though, let's get you caught up on some of the big news around the world of sports in our 3-point stance. Heading down under, apparently, old man Stafford going to have to knock off some post-flight rust after he and the Rams head out to Australia to take on the 49ers in the first ever NFL game in Australia coming up next season. It'll be the 2026 years. The announcement was made Thursday by Australia Zoo's very own Robert Irwin, the star of Dancing with the Stars and the son of the late Steve Irwin. Very cool moment and very cool for those teams. The Seattle Seahawks, not as cool. Rookie defensive back Nicky Manwari suffered an ankle injury on practice on Wednesday, but according to head coach Mike Macdonald, is expected to play in Super Bowl 60. He's officially listed as being injured late in practice. Said the injury was a low ankle sprain. Remember, Manwari missed 3 games after suffering a high ankle sprain in the season opener all the way back in September. So good news for their secondary super weapon. And speaking of weapons, plenty of great weapons on display tonight in the NFL Honors, going to be hosted in San Francisco, the annual evening where we see all the NFL award winners crowned. Everyone gets dolled up on the red carpet and has a very good time. And as we look at some of the awards up for grabs going into this tonight, Dad, there are ones that feel like a lock. You saw Myles Garrett there, and no disrespect to Aidan Hutchinson, who will join us, but unfortunately, no one's going to beat the guy that got the single season sack record on a really bad team. It was a Herculean effort, and he deserves it. MVP, do you have any last-minute concerns as Matthew Stafford's long since been assumed to be the MVP favorite since entering the postseason? We know it doesn't count. This is voted on at the end of Week 18. But do you think there's any shot Drake Maye can come in and steal his thunder in a week where he's getting set to play in the Super Bowl?
No, I don't think so. I think Drake Maye will be the runner-up, second year in the league. That's pretty damn good. But I think Matthew Stafford, with the year he had and the age he is and taking all that in consideration, I think he wins his first MVP award, yes.
I agree. I do think there is some narrative inertia in there, whether it's subconscious or not. The fact that Matthew Stafford every year seems to be a one-year deal for him versus Drake Maye, who's going to have a long, prolific career in New England. It seems like that may factor somewhat into this. Even though I saw compelling arguments from our buddy Mina Kimes over on NFL Live, Drake Maye has one of the better cases, and I think one that shouldn't be undermined as much by people talking schedule. But even if we assume, hey, like everyone else, Matthew Stafford probably going to run away, which NFL awards then tonight do you think are going to be the tightest race? Which ones are you most interested to see?
I am most interested to see the defensive rookie of the year. I think that's going to be the one, quite honestly. I think there's 3 contestants for it. I believe it's going to be Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker out of UCLA for the Cleveland Browns, Xavier Watts, the DB for Atlanta, and James Pierce, the edge rusher for Atlanta. I think those 3 are the top 3 in it. Pierce had 10.5 sacks, 10 tackles for losses on a Atlanta defense that really got after the passer. Xavier Watts continued to do what he did at Notre Dame, and that's intercept the ball. He had 96 tackles, 11 passes defense, and 5 interceptions. I believe he was tied for second in the league. Kevin Byard had 7. He led the league. Then a number of players had 5. And then Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker on an excellent defense in Cleveland, that's going to have the defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett. He led the team with 156 tackles, threw in 11 tackles for losses, a couple of interceptions as well. Mike, he was 6th in the NFL in total tackles with 156 as a rookie. I think of those 3, I'd love to pull for the Domer in Xavier Watts, but I think Carson Schlesinger is going to win it.
I think he's got a really strong shot to pull that off. And how about the Browns? Say what you want about their ability to find, draft, or develop quarterback talent. Linebacker, they lose Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the former Notre Dame linebacker, who was dealing with an injury that kept him off the field, and immediately replaced him with an incredible high-impact performer out of UCLA. So I'm with you, though. Very tight field there. Hell, if Nicky Memwari didn't have that early ankle injury that we talked about this season, who knows what it would have looked like? Because right now, I'm not sure you'll find many rookies playing better football than him, and on a defense where we know lots of great players, but certainly he's held his own. The one I think could be the tightest is Coach of the Year. Now, I understand as we look at the nominees of this right now, Mike Vrabel and Mike Macdonald are both in the Super Bowl, so you can understand that. But Kyle Shanahan, Ben Johnson, and Liam Cohen also up for it. We're getting ready to talk to Fred Warner. Like, I have a hard time looking away from what Kyle Shanahan did this year. I don't know about you, Dan. I certainly can understand the guys that made it to the Super Bowl. Again, that's not factored into the voting for this. It was impressive stuff, but Shanahan, with the house burning down around him, put on the cape and went hero mode himself in a way that I thought deserves some recognition.
Yeah, I do think he'll get some recognition. I think Liam Cohen really not only taking Jacksonville at where they went, but kind of sustaining, Trevor Lawrence, right? We all thought, what direction is Trevor Lawrence going to go? And he had himself a year, Liam Cohen's first head coaching stint. So I might lean his way.
Yeah, it was incredible. There's a lot of deserving candidates. Kyle would get my vote, but that being said, I'm not going to certainly lose sleep if Mike Vrabel in year 1 taking his team to the Super Bowl works there. Speaking of Kyle Shanahan, you can look and see the issues the 49ers had this year that makes that case all the more impressive. All right, I feel like I'm going to have to clear out halfway through this interview. We're welcoming in what I think I can comfortably say is my father's favorite current NFL player in four-time first-team All-Pro linebacker, Fred Warner, kind enough to join us on behalf of Ascent. Yeah, Fred, my dad played 9 years in the NFL. I've heard him talk glowingly a lot of guys over the years, but not quite as much as he talks about you. So welcome in, and I hope that doesn't make you uncomfortable, but this man loves you.
No, I mean, that's a fantastic introduction, man. That's very humbling. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Love watching you as a player. And man, it was amazing watching the videos of you working out when everybody thought you were going to come back. The video after what you did to your ankle. In all honesty, how close were you to act if San Francisco kept going to coming back?
No, I was one game away, one win away. Had we won that game in Seattle, the whole plan was for me to play in that next game. Even so, to the fact that the plan was for me to watch the game in the box that game, just to make sure that I had a good training practice and day the following day to prepare for that following game. So everything was in place for me to play the following week.
My God, so you broke your ankle in week 6 and would have been ready. I feel like we need to flip the narrative. The substation deserves credit for healing powers because that seems like it's well ahead of schedule.
You guys got to put that out. Get on Twitter right now and tweet out exactly what you just said, all right? Because we can't get enough of that right now with everything that's being talked about with this whole substation deal. Man, we gotta end that.
I was going to say, is there talk in the locker room of buying into any of that?
No, not at all. Not at all. That substation's been there forever. I'm hearing that it's been there since the 80s when old Jerry Rice and them was out here playing. So listen, man, the substation's not going anywhere. I think it'd be helpful, of course, to get some guys who know what they're talking about when it comes to those sort of things, because we got all these Twitter doctors and experts. Let's get some real experts and see what they got to say about whether it has an effect or not.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, like you said, I think the history of the 49ers' great play and your own history, I mean, before this year, had only missed one game in the regular season in your career before all this. I'm curious for you, mentally, the team obviously still found a way to have an incredible season, but how hard was this year for you to watch so much of it from the sidelines?
Oh my gosh, it was brutal having to watch from the suite every single game. Of course, you're trying your hardest to still be there for your guys and contribute where you can, but it's just different than when you're you're suiting up and you're giving it up for your guys on the field every single Sunday. But yeah, that's just how this game is, man. It's a brutal, violent game, and sometimes you just in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was nothing I could have done to prevent my injury, but I'll be back better than ever going into next year.
I'm sure you will, and I hate to ask you another question about feeling bad about something, but how tough is it with the biggest game of the season being in your house?
Oh, sickening, especially when it's your division rival that's got the best chance to go win it. But it just is what it is, man. Of course, we had a great chance, even with all the narratives going into this year. If we don't have a chance, our Super Bowl window's closed, and then we're in Week 18 fighting for a 1 seed against Seattle. So, I think we're in a great spot for next year when the Super Bowl's in LA.
Yeah, what does that say, especially about your coach? Kyle Shanahan takes a lot of heat at times from the outside. Sitting here up for Coach of the Year, knowing into NFL honors tonight, why should he win in your mind?
I mean, he should win because of what he was dealt this year. You lose some key players throughout our season. Me, Nick, even Brock for an extended period of time, George to start the year. And still be able to have a 12-win season and a chance to win the 1 seed or to win a playoff game on the road against Philly. It was a fantastic year for him as a coach. He's been the best coach since I've been here, so he should win the award every single year. But I think it was on display for the entire world to see this year, especially.
So obviously, injuries to you guys, you star players, hurts a team. But explain to the viewers that while they may still be like, oh man, we got players hurt, the mentality for the team has to be next man up, correct?
It's always next man up mentality, but that's so much easier said than done, right? I think in this league, you see a lot of teams when their star quarterback goes down and all of a sudden they don't win another game for the rest of the year. And that just wasn't the case with us. I mean, you cannot give enough credit to Mac Jones and what he did in those games that we asked of him to go in there and have no drop off. Right. And, obviously Max played well in this league, and the rest can be said about everybody else who had to step in for me, for Nick, and for other guys in the lineup. The standard is a standard here at the 49ers. Everybody's taught the exact same way of how to play the game. And so when you do lose guys, you try to make sure that drop off isn't just off a cliff,
No, certainly. And a ton of credit on defense also goes to your now former defensive coordinator in Rob Saleh, who I know had been there before and now takes on the role of the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. What are they getting in Tennessee with the head coach? What did you see from him, on the field and off the field this year from a guy you know pretty well?
Yeah, man, I saw a guy who was even better than he was before when I got here, which says a lot because when I got drafted here in 18, I mean, I thought he was the best of the best back then. And that's why he ultimately got a head coaching job with New York when he did. And of course, he had his tenure in New York and then he came back with the lessons that he learned of being a head coach and was able to kind of implement that even more so as a defense coordinator with us again and had one great year and then was out of there. So all the best of luck to Saleh going forward. I know he'll do a great job in Tennessee.
You mentioned you got drafted in 18, third round. You just finished your 8th year in the league. What's been the biggest difference of earlier in your career, that rookie year, to now?
Oh, confidence, 1,000% confidence. And when I came into the league, I'd never played stack off the ball linebacker, I'd never given calls with a green dot on the back of my helmet. And so I was out there swimming my entire rookie season. I asked Saleh back this season, I'm like, bro, how did you guys let me have the green dot? Like, what? Are you guys insane? And he's like, man, like we just saw something, and it was much different back then. Let me just say, because we weren't winning games, so they could ride it out with a guy who was messing up every single week. But man, the fact that they did hold on to me and stay with me throughout that year to let me grow, and ultimately bring me up to the player I am today, it's just confidence, man, of knowing that I have full control of my position and in our defense, and ultimately just trying to be the best version of myself for my team.
Well, so that's interesting, you growing into that role, because now, and we talked about it, we joked about you being my dad's favorite player, but you're the best linebacker in the NFL. I'm sure tons of guys trying to improve their game are watching you. Who are the linebackers you've looked to, like the favorite guys that you've had to watch over the years where you said, I want that as a part of my game?
When I was trying to make that transition from, a guy who was just a starter in this league to try to like get that first Pro Bowl nod, to get that first All-Pro, I'm fighting with the likes of guys who were in my own conference in the NFC, and Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner, two of the best to ever play the game. I'm over there fighting for a Pro Bowl spot because they only give it out to two guys at middle linebacker. And so, those are guys I looked up to in college. And so the fact that I was able to compete against them for those type of spots, in a Pro Bowl was just a surreal moment. And I've always just watched their tape and admire the way that they played the game. And I try to just do the same exact thing in the way that I play.
So we had Trey McBride on, and I mentioned to him most of my years were with the Eagles, and it was during the time the Cowboys won back-to-back Super Bowls in 92 and 93. And I said how I could not root for a division foe, and Trey kind of felt the same way being for the Cardinals in this division. How do you feel? Can you root for a team in your division in the Super Bowl?
No way. Absolutely not. That whole the whole thought process of like, oh, do it for the NFC West. No, absolutely not. I hope the Patriots mop them, right? I hope that's the case. But, if you're realistic about it, and I've watched Seattle now multiple times, and I know exactly what they're about and what kind of players they have. They have a very great chance to win a Super Bowl. And so you got to tip your cap and give respect where it's due. That doesn't mean I got to like you or that I got to root for you, but the respect most definitely is there.
Certainly lots of that to go around in the best division in football in the NFC West. It was so much fun watching all you guys do your thing this year. We mentioned, giving the substation some credit for the recovery, tongue in cheek, but Ascent Protein, who you're here on behalf of, probably deserves some as well. What do you guys got going on this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've helped me a ton. And I started working with Ascent back in 2024 because I wanted to see who was the best out there that can help me with my on-field performance when it came to supplements like whey protein and these sort of things that kind of help you build muscle and be at your best. And so Ascent was by far the best. They are third-party tested, so I didn't have to worry about what was going in my body. Everything was clean. And my favorite protein, of course, is their whey chocolate protein. So delicious and nutritious. So the best in the game, Ascent.
All right, there we go. The best in the game for the best in the game. Fred, let's send you out here on this note. It was just reported by Adam Schefter as we're talking to you, and you may have known this already being in the building. You're going to be the first NFL team to play in Australia. You guys and the Rams playing down under next year.
Australia.
What's that feel like to know you're going to make that trip?
Yeah, man, that's exciting. I don't know how far that flight is to old Australia, but I am excited for it. And hey, we got to find a way to win no matter where it is. Just put that ball on the ground and we gonna fight.
Let me just tell you, you better have a bye week after it. That's all I got to say.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see, man. Yeah. I don't know what they got in store.
All right, well, watch out for those big jacked kangaroos over there and make sure. I mean, maybe they should stay out of your way considering what we know about you and the hit stick you're going to bring there. But either way, enjoy that. Congrats on all the success, Fred. We're excited to see you back out on the field soon next year.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up next, one person you won't see on the sideline for the Philadelphia Eagles and why it may have a bigger impact than any other move they made this offseason. Next. We're back on Golic and Golic, Mike Golic Jr. and Sr. So much talk about the vibes in Philadelphia coming off of this season. The Eagles trying to defend their Super Bowl championship, do anything but a season defined by sideline bickering and ultimately a move made at offensive coordinator. But maybe the biggest news for the Eagles offseason came just yesterday, Dad, as it was announced Jeff Stoutland, the longtime Eagles offensive line coach, out after 13 seasons. He stepping away from the team. It made it abundantly clear this was not a retirement. This was Jeff Stoutland saying his time with Philadelphia was done. 13 years where he was a part of 2 Super Bowl championships, Saquon Barkley's 2,000-yard rushing season. We've heard Jason Kelce wax poetic about him. He helped Jordan Mailata make the transition to American football and a host of others. I believe every season he coached for the Philadelphia Eagles, he had at least one Pro Bowler on his offensive line. So, Dad, just how huge is this for Philadelphia, given how important he's been to this team?
This is amazing, right? With Nick Sirianni hiring Sean Mannion, and I guess not a whole lot of talk with Jeff Stoutland about, in running the offense. Stoutland didn't feel like he had much of a voice. And I don't know, Mike. I mean, I don't know how I'm sure Jeff wasn't looking to be, the pseudo offensive coordinator in this, but just to have a voice, knowing what he's done, knowing what he's produced. Now he's out there free. And there have got to be head coaches out there who secretly are a little bummed that they have their staffs intact when an offensive line coach like this become available and that they would want on their team. It's going to be real interesting where he ends up.
Yeah, according to ESPN, he's not going to coach this year, more than likely. Might take a year off, and I don't know if he was still under contract with Philadelphia or what that situation was, but you're right. The minute he is available for some other team to pick up here, you instantly have to look at that team and brace for them to become a contender, because we know around this league, right, it's become very in vogue for people to actually know what's going on with the offensive line and to recognize that that's going to be the unit that likely creates the floor for your success or failure. And Jeff Stoutland has been almost single-handedly the floor raiser for that Eagles team for a decade plus here now. This, to me, is like borderline catastrophic, Dad. And you mentioned it. He's 63 years old and a lifelong offensive line coach. Like, this is not a guy that I think had grand ambitions or was looking for a power grab. But he had the title of run game coordinator. And for a lot of veteran offensive line coaches, that's kind of your area of expertise. You want to have your voice heard on that because you know what your offensive line is capable of best when it comes to the schemes that you're going to run. And clearly last year, between injury and everything else, like, it wasn't working. And the reports are that Nick Sirianni and then offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo made some tweaks to the run game, made some changes to try and help zhuzh it up, but didn't really consult Jeff Stoutland. And Dad, you know this. It's what you do is one thing. How you do it is another thing completely. And things weren't working well last year, and you can attribute it to a million different things. I'm not saying changing it was bad, but if we're getting this, I'd imagine it's because Jeff Stoutland wants us to. And this isn't someone I would think of as a diva in the sense of the word. And so if that's really the case, that they just went over the head of a guy who's been such an integral part of winning in that building for so long, what a colossal fumble by this staff if that really is the case.
Yeah, if that is the case, it's a huge mistake, right? And in my 9 years in the league, there is no doubt the most ornery, bristly coaches, position coaches, were offensive linemen. There are times you just kind of leave the offensive lineman alone, right? You just leave the offensive line coach alone. But if Stoutland's been as successful as he's been, how do you not kind of invite him in, right? When you're talking about the run game, as you mentioned, producing Pro Bowlers every single year, considering to have the best offensive line a number of years, to not include him, if that in fact is the case, is an unbelievable mistake, and they are losing one hell of a coach.
And you mentioned Sean Mannion comes in like different scheme. There was a thought that maybe he'd have to learn, and maybe he didn't want to be a part of having to learn from yet another coordinator about how to work his stuff best into their scheme. All I know is this. We've heard people for years talk about like the O-line epidemic and all that stuff in college and the NFL. Story for another day. You can debate the merits of the problem, but it's a different world where on every level of football, you've got less time on field with these guys at a position where you need it most. Everything about offensive line is an unnatural learned skill. And what you had in the NFL was one of the very few proven commodities as a teacher and developer. Talented guys are still there, right? You're still going to bring back hopefully a healthy Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata,
right.
Cam Jurgens, the rest of this guy, Landon Dickerson. You've got great players who have been coached by him. But the standard the O-line coach, the great ones, hold their players to is just not something you can easily replicate. And if they go outside of the people that know Jeff Stoutland in this hire, I'm very concerned in the coming years of what that foundation starts to look like for Philadelphia. Again, when you lose someone who is one of the rare instances of a coach at that level, at that position, one of the most important there is, that can actually develop players in a way that's a weapon for that organization.
Yeah, listen, they'll have a new O-line coach. The players will listen to him because that's what players do. But I guarantee you these players are bummed that they're losing Stoutland, and there is going to be a very, very happy team once Jeff Stoutland gets back into the league and gets hired by an organization to either build up an O-line who needs building up or maintain an offensive line's greatness. I mean, he is without question one of the best to do it.
No question. A terrifying day if you're an Eagles fan, I would have to imagine. Coming up next, though, let's talk to a terrifying man that any offensive lineman would have to line up across from. Aidan Hutchinson joins the show ahead of NFL honors tonight right here on Golic Golic. Welcome back to Golic Golic. I'm Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. The Parade of Stars continues around here. Super Bowl 60 just a couple days away. Radio Row frothing at the mouth. And that's probably how I would describe the play style of our next guest. Two-time Pro Bowl edge rusher Aidan Hutchinson, kind enough to join us here now from the Detroit Lions. On behalf of Head and Shoulders, I got to say, Aidan, life's pretty good for you. You're here on behalf of Head and Shoulders. You're nominated in 2 categories tonight coming up in NFL honors, Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year. And did I see you started a golf brand this year?
That's a good find out of you. That's a great find. Yeah, I started a golf brand. It's coming out. It's all custom stuff coming out. Probably early April is when all the stuff will be in. So man, I'm really excited. I've become a golf fanatic. So I figured, hey, might as well start doing business out of this so we can kind of knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. So man, the golf brand's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be vintage inspired merch, and it's called 4th and 4, kind of a play on words off of our very own Dan Campbell, always going for it on 4th and 4.
So does that mean you're giving him the hookup then?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. I'd say because I have to I got to play for that man and be under those stressful situations of sitting on the sideline and praying. So I figured he can do me a solid and just throw me this little tagline.
So I hope, are you a good player? I'm tired of the quarterbacks always being the best players because they never get hit in practice or anything. So they're really never sore in practice.
I'm telling you, man, dude, it's the quarterbacks and special teamers. It's like, that's all golf gets accounted for. And so I'm trying to, put the defensive players on a little bit because I know there's a lot of defensive players that love golf. I'm about like a 10 handicap right now. I'm kind of shooting in the I would say high 80s is probably 87 is probably my average. But I'm trying to grind. I've been grinding this offseason. We've gotten some more time. So, man, I'm trying to really bring the handicap down.
All right, there we go. Hey, listen, you know what? Like I said, obviously not time you wanted, but you'd be ashamed not to put it to good use the way you are right now and the way you are this week. What's it feel like, going into tonight, football-wise, nominated in 2 categories here, comeback player of the year, defensive player of the year? How's that feel to get that kind of recognition league-wide?
It's great, man. It's both of those finalists are really good stuff, and very much a blessing. I definitely congrats to all the other finalists as well. And man, I'm just super happy with what I was able to do this year, given the very, very long rehab I had. And really, I didn't miss a practice, didn't miss a game. And my health has been very good. And my growth and development as a football player throughout those 17 games is something that I really am proud of.
Always interested in the mental side. Obviously, the physical side, we all have surgeries. We know how long a shoulder injury is supposed to come back from, a knee, whatever. You get the time frame. So you come back from a broken leg, have your career high in sacks. Where was the mental side of, okay, physically the doctors and I think this leg is okay, but mentally I have to go 100%. When did you get over the mental hump?
Yeah, I mean, even when I was in OTAs and it really, when I was back in football, I felt like I was, we call it, a lot of my teammates call it like you have to re-download all the information, because in OTAs I'd be doing some spin moves and like falling because like you're still learning how to, like, your body's, I mean, I got a like bionic leg now, so your body's like learning how to like navigate with some more hardware in there. But after OTAs, I really felt like I got my feet under me and like I was able to really restore it all. And you really, at that point, you just deal with residual soreness, and as the volume starts to increase in camp, you start to hit more, the practices get longer, more physical. That ramp up for me was super crucial, and by the start of the season I felt like I was great.
Well, an incredible season for you individually. We know not what you guys were looking for as a team. Certainly the crescendo had been building, and this year maybe a bit of a step back in that. Dan Campbell always seems to have the right words. What was his message to you guys after this season about where you're at as a program right now?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to say because we know the talent we have. We know, if you want to call it a missed opportunity, you can call it that, given the window that we're in and the guys that we have. But I truly believe this is going to set us up great, because I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on us now. And man, I like when people sleep on us and when we're kind of marked out of the conversation. So I know that we will be back, and man, it's gonna be a fun year next year for sure.
No question. Well, I can think of no greater compliment than what you've got coming in the football sense tonight from your peers. And I can think of no greater compliment for those of you that still have hair of being named the Head and Shoulders ambassador, the newest one for the NFL. So how's this experience been, and what do you guys have going on this week?
Man, Head and Shoulders has been so great to me. I've had the mascot's coming in right now. Hey, Microbe, you want to come in here with me as we talk about? Come here. Come on, Microbe. Actually, he can't fit in here. There we go.
Oh,
there's my little Microbe buddy.
Him.
So this is something that is on your dry scalp when you don't use Head and Shoulders. So we got to get him out of here, because when I use Head and Shoulders, it tackles dandruff with every wash. And really, it's all about being consistent on and off the field to tackle that dry scalp and make sure none of those microbes live on your scalp like that poor man over there.
There you go. You know what? I know you and Dad defeating microbes very well. The microbes don't have many places to hide for me there, but safe to say, doing the great job as always. Aidan, congrats on all the success, man. Enjoy everything coming up tonight and keep those microbes at bay, man. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. You guys were great. I appreciate you.
I was really thrown off by the moving eyebrows on the microbe. Mascot technology has gotten to a really alarming place.
Think about the day Aidan Hutchinson had of walking around Radio Row doing double-digit interviews, I'm sure, with Microbe following him around. That had to be a sight.
Listen, as someone that got to spend a luxurious weekend with the Pop-Tarts mascot, sometimes it's nice having someone there who's just kind of emotional support, not going to talk a ton because mascots really aren't supposed to. It's actually kind of refreshing. You have to feel like you missed the mark, Dad. Were they doing Head and Shoulders partnerships when you were in the league? Because you feel like a head of hair tailor-made for that.
No, I did have a head of hair tailor-made for that, and they were not doing – if there was a big sponsorship like that, it went to the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks got everything back then. I mean, we had some great quarterbacks during my era, and they pretty much got every deal out there.
All right. Well, a damn shame that was the case then. Let's focus on the here and now, though. We had Aidan Hutchinson here. We might as well use that as a springboard to talking about one of the best defenses in the NFL and technically the best scoring defense in the NFL and the matchup for tomorrow. So we're going to do the Patriots offense against the Seahawks defense today. We'll flip that tomorrow as we head into the Super Bowl weekend. But as we look at this matchup, Dad, the number 9 comes to mind for me here in terms of the challenge early on in this game for these two teams. The Patriots, going back to their last 9 Super Bowl appearances, have not scored a first quarter point. They've scored a first drive point in the second quarter going back to that game against the Rams, but have not scored a first quarter point in 9 Super Bowl appearances. At the same time, the Seattle Seahawks defense this season has gone 9 straight games, regular season and postseason, without allowing a first quarter touchdown. And that fast start, I feel like, will be imperative for this Patriots offense. What are you most concerned about in the matchup between this all-time great defense and a Patriots offense that we know has gone through the gauntlet of them so far this postseason?
Well, there's a couple of matchups that I'm looking at, one in the secondary and one on the line of scrimmage. How is Josh McDaniels, the old coordinator for New England, going to attack Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback who basically is one of 2 cornerbacks that has played 25% at right corner, 25% at left corner, 25% at slot corner. He's played everything, right? He's an aggressive player that can give up plays downfield. Saw the Rams throw for some yards on him. So what will, like in dime, he'll be in the slot. So what position will Josh McDaniels try and dictate to get Devin Witherspoon in, right? I mean, and the secondary is so good, and it certainly helps him and Ware be able to, with Witherspoon's versatility, Ware can do his thing at safety, a big safety, kind of like Kyle Hamilton. I mean, Nick is 6'3", 220. Kyle is 6'4", 215. 2 of the better safeties around as far as their versatility of playing back, playing linebacker depth, or playing on the line of scrimmage. But I'm interested to see the chess match of where Witherspoon will be positioned on the field and how Josh McDaniels tries to attack that. And then on the line, DeMarcus Lawrence against Will Campbell. Right? I mean, the Seattle Seahawks, I think, had 50 sacks total this year, including playoffs. They don't have one over 8. I think DeMarcus Lawrence has 8. But Will Campbell has been struggling, especially in the playoffs. He has been well over his percentage of pressure rate in each playoff game as opposed to what the average left tackle gives up and what he gave up in the regular season. And how much will they have to help him? Chip with a back, chip with a tight end, which delays those receivers going out into coverage. Those are 2 of the matchups I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that one on the line of scrimmage especially is probably the one that we've heard most about in the recent weeks, just because, hey, when you look at the defenses they've gone against, and oh, by the way, the defenses they've gone against, Drake Maye became the first quarterback in NFL history to win 3 playoff games against top 5 total defenses in a single postseason: the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos. And the one thing you'd say there is, right, clearly more defined pass rushers, right? Tuli Tuipulotu had been having a monster breakout year for the Chargers. Certainly the Texans need no introductions. The Will Anderson Jr.'s of the world and Daniil Hunter, incredible rushers there. And then you go and look at the Broncos and what Nick Benito's done. Like, you had guys that are one-on-one matchup nightmares. This game's a little bit different because, like you said, the Seahawks defense and the Mike Macdonald defense story has always been, hey, we're going to try and create some unique matchups with everything that we can do from the neck up, because Mike Macdonald is one of the best defensive about doing that is going to be huge for them. How he goes about creating those interesting one-on-one matchups and conundrums. And then really it's, can Drake Maye get them out of those with his legs, right? When everything goes to hell and the coverage picture changes after the snap and you've got a guy unaccounted for in a certain spot, the get out of jail free card has been Drake Maye's legs. And you feel like, based on how dreadful their downfield passing numbers have been this postseason as the offense has kind of regressed, that's once again going to have to be the way they soften this defense up early.
So a couple of things. Drake Maye, he won't like run away from you with his legs, but what he'll do is demoralize you. During the regular season, I've used this stat in the game I did them against Denver, and probably on the show. He scrambled for 27 first downs, the most of any quarterback in the league. So when you're looking to get off the field as a defense, he scrambles, he gets a first down, moves the chains. It's demoralizing. So where does he get out? Do you hold the edges on your pass rush? Is he able to step up? Now, here's a difference. You look at the interior for Seattle. Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams were second in the regular season in the league as far as a duo interior rushers putting pressure on the quarterback. They were second. By the way, New England was fourth, so they're right there with Christian Barmore and Milt Williams. But we'll talk about them, tomorrow. So I talk about Dexter Lawrence on the outside rushing, but you have those two guys pushing the pocket on the inside. And I've always talked this year about, my God, the losing contain, letting the quarterback escape, and what a difference when you don't let him escape outside. You don't let him step up in the pocket. All of a sudden, now he's looking at the rush, trying to escape before his eyes go back downfield again. Whereas opposed to if he has room to step up or step outside, he can keep his eyes downfield to make a play.
Yeah, completely agree. And usually that falls then on the second level guys. And we've talked about the linebackers with Ernest Jones. Drake Thomas has been an awesome story for them and a phenomenal player. But Nicky Manwari, like you mentioned, his importance in the secondary. The ankle injury, while we know he's going to play, and I'm sure he's barely going to feel that leg with how much Toradol they're going to put in that thing, it's still something that affects one of the guys that his calling card is he's gigantic and a dynamic athlete. We've seen him play with so much speed and confidence as of late since he's been healthy and now had time to bake in this system. I do worry about what it looks like if he's a step slow in the secondary with a guy like Drake Maye who can do everything that he can do there. The other interesting part, and this is going to be fun to watch within the context of the MVP debate that's going to go on tonight, right? As we see here, Nicky Manwari, all that he's done this year, sacks, pressures, passes broken up, and I think in the playoffs has been playing some of his best football. There's been games where I look out and think there might not be a better player on the best defense than Nicky Manwari in the way that he's looked in this postseason run. But then you look and say, all right, what happened in the last game, Dad? And how would you explain away the fact that the Seahawks allowed 247 yards on downfield throws against the Rams in the NFC Championship game? Like, is that just familiarity? Is that the veteran presence of Matthew Stafford? Or do we see something there that should be more alarming going up against another great quarterback?
I think an issue for Seattle is in the middle of the field. Puka Nacua catching routes in the middle of the field, tight ends catching balls in the middle of the field. Again, that's why I say Hunter Henry could be big in this game. So I think the middle of the field can be an area of concern for Seattle where Drake Maye could go. And I think that's where a lot of yards end up going on. But again, Puka Nacua, a different receiver without question. So is it Stephon Diggs? Who's going to run middle routes? Hunter Henry, like I said, definitely will play in the middle of the field. But I don't know if New England has the capability of like the Rams and Puka Nacua who can destroy a middle of the field.
No, certainly. And that familiarity between those two teams, the third time that they had played all of that going in versus the Patriots, who have a unique challenge. We talked about Drake Maye already making history. He'd have to make more since 2023. Quarterbacks under the age of 24, 0-6 when facing a Mike Macdonald coach defense. Right. So usually makes it tough on young guys. We'll see if Drake Maye can continue to buck trends. Coming up next, we've talked so much in the last couple of weeks about who won't be making the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about who we think will as the Hall of Fame class of 2026 gets announced tonight next on Golic Golic. You're always a good time to remember Hank Aaron and his heroism both on and off the field. Racism happened. He weathered some of the ugliest of humanity to go out and accomplish at the highest level. You can't ignore it. All you can do is learn from it, and we certainly hope that's the case for many. As we look ahead to what's coming up the rest of tonight, Dad, we've mentioned more and more the NFL honors coming up tonight in the awards, but we also get the announcement of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 coming up. We know the conversation has taken place about the older players that would be involved, the seniors category, where Kenny Anderson, Roger Craig, L.C. Greenwood expected to make it, since we know Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft aren't.
Yeah.
But the 15 modern era finalists that are up for the Hall of Fame tonight, as you see the names up here, Dad, who are the ones that you would imagine are a lock that we're going to see named tonight?
Well, the two locks, Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald, right? They're absolute locks. Though I would have thought Bill Belichick was a lock too, so I guess I can't say absolute locks, but I think they are locks. I was surprised Luke Kuechly did not get in his first attempt last year. Maybe it's because of the lack of years in service, because of the concussions. But I mean, when you talk about look at Hall of Famers, you're looking about for a time greatest at their position. There's no doubt Luke Kuechly was. I would expect him to get in. Terrell Suggs is another one. Terrell Suggs is 8th on the all-time list in sacks. So I think he's eventually going to get in, and maybe get in this time as well. And then I'm kind of deciding Jason Witten is up there in stats. But did you ever consider him the best tight end? Maybe at times you did. And I just don't think there's enough special teamers. Adam Vinatieri is the all-time leading scorer in NFL history. I mean, He can't do any more than that, right? I mean, he's the all-time leader. He's number one. I mean, I think he should get shown some love for that.
I would agree. I think eventually he's a guy that absolutely should be enshrined in Canton.
Yeah.
So many clutch moments in the postseason, in addition to, like you said, such a long career's worth of production. Count me as one throwing my hand up for Luke Kuechly. People have heard me wax poetic, a guy that I got to play against in college when he was at BC, and then watching the NFL do things that very few are capable of. One of the most cerebral players I've ever seen at any level of football. Just remarkable there. I'd love to selfishly see it for an offensive lineman in this class. I saw Willie Anderson already tweet on Twitter that anyone hoping for him tonight should probably hope less. So I'm guessing he knows something that we'll find out later on, which is unfortunate. Willie Anderson, one of the all-time greats at tackle. And then Jari Evans and Marshall Yanda. I mean, those are two guys that will wear a gold jacket eventually, period. End of sentence. But at times there can be that log jam there. Ja's been up for it for a while. I got to see his process up close and personal, albeit briefly, in New Orleans with the Saints. So rooting for all those guys. But like you said, I think Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald, those are going to be easy slam dunks for them, and guys that will no doubt be Hall of Famers this class.
Yeah, the problem that you mentioned is it starts to queue up, right? There starts to form a line, and there is one forming at the offensive line position, which I believe for voters is one of the hardest positions to vote on, right? Because it's not a stat-filled position, and I'm not sure where voters who have never really played or been involved in football can break down or know an offensive lineman. It's got to be the hardest position to kind of analyze.
Add more beef to the Hall of Fame voting list. Upon this rock, I will build my church. Y'all got a few years to get ready and get right and give Zach Martin that gold jacket on the first try, or I will be coming at y'all. But good luck to everyone tonight. Excited to see who gets to join the hallowed halls in Canton, Ohio, and join the all-time greats in the history of the sport. Let's finish off today, as we always do, with Fourth and Golic. Got a couple of really fun stories. One we referenced earlier. How about Travis Kelce? Guy finally gets a break in Super Bowl week, has time to go explore other passions. The 16th hole, daunting, massive crowd at the Waste Management Open in Scottsdale, and almost buries the thing, Dad. I mean, in the friendship circle right off the jump. Is there anything this guy can't do?
And listen, that's being able to handle pressure, right? Even the golfers who do it for a living, I think, feel pressure on that hole because of how loud it gets. But then again, Travis Kelce's used to playing in front of 80,000 people and coming up with big plays and crucial plays, right? So I don't really think the pressure got to him, and it certainly didn't. That was a smooth swing. He's a good golfer. And boy, you talk about, I would so overthink that shot. And just probably mess it up so bad where he just got up there, took his swing, and had great results.
Guy carried Taylor Swift on the concert stage. He knows pressure and can handle it. Maybe not pressure quite like this, though. Let's get to Penisgate. Anti-doping
God.
officials have said they will look into extraordinary claims that Olympic ski jumpers have injected acid into their penises to enhance performance. Now, ski jumpers are subjected to 3D scanners to measure their bodysuits because excess material can help them gain more distance. Hubba hubba, especially in the crotch area, where experts say it can lengthen a leap by almost 16 meters. Reports in Germany suggest athletes and their coaches may have discovered an alternative method for gaining extra material by increasing the size of genitalia when they have to get their suits fitted by injecting hyaluronic acid into their genitals to make them grow beyond normal size. Dad, you always talked about dedication to the sport. Would you be dedicated enough to go ahead and shoot acid in the man downstairs?
Shooting stuff into your junk to help your performance. Listen, if it helps enough, Olympics are once every 4 years. I think you got to go to the extreme measures, don't you? You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do to get that extra material to help. So go for it. I think.
Yep, it's you're looking for every edge, the slightest one, especially down
You're
there.
looking for every inch.
I'm sure there's a number of people back home Googling that office in Germany to try and find out. We'll be back to finish off the week tomorrow right here on Golic and Golic. Thanks for watching. For more Golic and Golic clips, make sure you subscribe to the FanDuel Sports Network YouTube channel.